The big news this afternoon, Treasury has approved the transfer of funds from the National Revenue Fund to SAA. This to allow the airliner to address its debt obligations to Citibank, thereby avoiding a default. The national carrier was given until tomorrow to settle its 3 billion rand debt with Citibank or risk a possible loan recall. Now, in a statement, Treasury says funds will also be used to assist SAA with its immediate working capital requirements. It says the payment was done in terms of Section 16 of the Public Finance Management Act, and a default by the airliner would have triggered a call on the guarantee exposure totaling a whopping 16.4 billion rand, and this would have then possibly resulted in elevated perceptions of risk related to the rest of SAA's guaranteed debt. Treasury further says several options are being explored, and an update will be provided during the medium-term budget policy statement on the 25th of October this year. But given the nature of the problems at SAA, Section 16 of the Public Funds Management Act had to be used as the last resort. This bailout from government's contingency fund brings transfers to the airliner to more than 5 billion rand in just the last 2 months. All right, let's try again. We are very pleased to be joined from our Pretoria studios by the DG of Treasury, Mr. Dondo Mogajane. DG, a very good afternoon to you once again. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you were still telling us which other expenses this bailout is actually going to settle, and you're explaining the fact that this is not an actual loan. Tell us more about the conditions of this bailout, sir.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Yes, it is not a loan. We are assisting SAA to meet its obligations to repay loans that have become due. One such loan is Citibank, which has been owed 1.8 billion rand. Now, with the 3 billion, yes, it will cover part of the loan that is owed to Citi, and the rest will be used to address certain operational requirements and working capital requirements, as most of the creditors will have to be paid today and tomorrow. So we think this 3 billion rand that we've injected in SAA will take them far in actually managing the finances and managing the airline to return to profitability later on in the coming few years.
Now, DG, you have to confirm this for the benefit of our viewers again. Just from which fund is the money coming from? News is saying that from the National Revenue Fund is where it's coming from. I mean, we know all about the rumors from the PIC. Just clarify that for us once again.
I should confirm that the PIC will not be giving SAA any money. We have, as I said before, approached the PIC to look at the possibility, and PIC, after a proper due diligence, decided not to go this route and invest the money of hard-earned money of pensioners and state-owned pensioners and other pensioners money to invest in the SAA. So they did not, and we will not be getting any of this 3 billion rand from pensioners' money. We will be, however, looking at options available to us, and these options will be outlined in the medium-term budget policy statement coming out on the 25th of October by the Minister of Finance.
All right, and DG, talk to us now maybe about how bailouts are, 1, applied for, 2, approved, and 3, repaid. I think this is very important to understand the process.
SAA has currently have a guarantee framework. Our guarantee to SAA amounts to about 16.4 billion. Now, with the guarantee that we offer as a state, this allows state-owned companies like SAA to go out in the market and raise money. Various lenders, currently we've got about 7 or so lenders that have lent SAA money, and Citibank was one of those. Standard Chartered was also one of those. With the guarantee that we offer, they can go out into the market and lend SAA money. Now, with a guarantee, you are simply saying, if you cannot afford, or if you, at any point in time, you cannot pay back, then you can call on government to come in and pay on your behalf. And in this case, this is exactly what happened with SAA. SAA, as we know of the challenges that have been there in the last few years, was not able to meet its obligations, was not able to actually be profitable as a business. As a result, these lenders then call on their guarantees and say, we are not rolling, we want to be paid money that's due to us. And that's what we've done on 2 occasions. On the 30th of June, when we paid Standard Chartered their money, 2.2 billion, and we will be doing the same with Citi today in terms of the arrangement that we have with them in part payment of the 1.8 billion that we owe to them.
All right, and DG, please clarify this for us as well. It says that given the nature of the problems at SAA, Section 16 of the Public Funds Management Act had to be used as a last resort. What does this loosely translate to in layman's terms?
Section 16 essentially talks about the Minister of Finance authorizing the use of funds from the National Revenue Fund. Now, the use of such is to defray expenses which are exceptional in nature and which have got a potential to that can bring serious prejudice to the public players and to public interest. Now, it is for that reason that we have to use Section 16. Now, what is also important is to note that, as I said earlier, 16.4 billion is owed to various lenders. If SAA does not meet its obligations on the date that the money is due, there is a possibility that all lenders can call on their guarantees, can call on their loans, and call on the debt that has been owed to SAA, and will then be forced to pay the full amount. Now, if that happens with one entity, there can be a cross-default across a whole state-owned companies, and all the possibilities that all debts, all loans that are due will be recalled, and therefore will be, as a state, that has got the potential to collapse the state. If you look at Eskom, which has got in excess of about 250 billion rand in terms of guarantees, if one state company, a state-owned company default, that can be a huge call. It can cause huge implications. Now, it's a precautionary measure that we took in order for SAA to avoid a default by SAA. But we are not just doing that and going in this, or we going in this in a blindfolded manner. We are putting, as you earlier on indicated, Alicia, that we are putting certain conditions on SAA to meet. We want SAA to come back to profitability. We want SAA to be run properly. We want the governance arrangement SAA to come on board. We want SAA to be actually finalizing their long-term turnaround strategy for it to actually return to profitability. We want SAA also to be an employer of choice, because currently with SAA, with the challenges that it has, it is slowly using its competitive edge over other competitors, and this for us is an issue of concern. Because we really want SAA to maintain the status that it has in Africa. Right. We want SAA to compete globally and make sure that
All right, and DG, very quickly before I let you go, I can see your line is getting terrible again. Just to tell us then, with that in mind, with those conditions in mind, how long then does SAA have to pay back the money? And of course, do tell us if Treasury is currently looking at bailout conditions that are going to be standard for all those struggling SOEs, sir.
As I indicated, Alicia, this is not a loan to SAA. We are recapitalizing the airline because we realize that it's important that we inject some capital in SAA. We are injecting over the next 2-3 years a total of 13 billion all in all. Currently, what we have done is actually injecting 10 billion, and this Minister of Finance will confirm during the medium-term budget policy statement. Now, the only repayment that we need is an airline that is run efficiently, is an airline that is profitable, is an airline that will be able at a later stage to pay huge dividends back into the National Revenue Fund. That's the kind of payback that we need. We need a state-owned company that should be well run, that everyone in South Africa, including everyone in government in particular, should be proud of, that we have an airline that we can all be proud of. Currently, we cannot say that with SAA, but because it's seen as a deep, dark black hole where the money that we actually recapitalizing is falling into. That's not what we want. We want a state-owned company in the form of this airline that is profitable, that should repay South Africans, all South Africans, with dividends, huge dividends that can actually improve the fiscus and make it easy for us to be able to distribute these resources that will be coming through later on to various programs, government programs, including improving the lives of South Africans.
DG, thank you so much for that sound update. That is Mr. Dondo Mogajane, the DG of Treasury, and he was talking to us about SAA's bailout there. You heard that it's not alone, but of course the airliner has to build itself up to, of course, something that makes a serious revenue for our GDP.